Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I think she made a presentation, so I won't get too much into my personal profile, and I prefer to concentrate on talking about a little bit the startup ecosystem and maybe give a more hopeful presentation of what's going on in Peru with startups. But before we do so, I was wondering if, as Peruvians living abroad, you've ever asked yourself the question, how could you help Peru beyond donating money to communities in need or supporting your family back in Peru? Have you asked that question? And maybe you're actually, in the past 2 days, I think there's been some hints of how you could potentially help Peru, and we'll look into that right now. And my second question is, if you had to name startups in Peru or funded by Peruvians, how many would you be able to name? Anyone? Crack the Code, Cambista, Creana, that's good. Anyone? Jasky, very good. Well, while the startup ecosystem 5 years ago looked like this, I would say that today it looks a little bit more like that. So it's still, as Eddie was saying, it's still early stage, but we're advancing, we're developing. There are dozens of startups with tractions and scaling to other countries in Latin America. We have, Creana was just mentioned, Chasqui as well. Mesa 24/7 is an app to book restaurants. Runa HR is a platform for payroll, automated payroll for Latin America small businesses. Anda is a wearable to connect parents and kids to be able to communicate with kids as young as 3 years old. Other example, Quantum Talent, for example, is an automated platform for hiring in Latin America as well. I mean, there are just a few examples there. This is non-exclusive, but every month there are more startups scaling and expanding to Latin America. And there are actually dozens of more startups with good traction. And this slide is to show you a little bit where the verticals are starting to develop. So fintech is one of them, logistics, food tech as well. And there are also, Eddie gave us a good example of startups created by Peruvians in the US, but with operation in Peru and developing talent in Peru. BlazingDB is a startup related to database. It's very technical, and don't ask me the details, but it's a very interesting startup. Amigo Cloud is a collaborative platform for mapping. Arrivedo is the first online platform for hotel search engine with content, related content, and it's basically what now Airbnb is offering. So experiences, but Arrivedo actually started before. And these startups have been selected. Some of them have gone to the best accelerators. For example, Runa HR went through Y Combinator, BlazingDB through Techstars, Mi Media Manzana, which is an online dating platform for Latin America with a matchmaking algorithm. Went through Blackbox. Currently, Fitco, which is a service, software as a service for small gym studios, is going through 500 startup, as well as Rebaja tu Cuentas. Some have raised cross-border investments. Tienda Pago, for example, provides working capital for SMEs in the retail sector. Has received investment from Kazakh Venture, which is the biggest VC fund in Latin America, or the most recognized. Runa from has received investment from Y Combinator, Mi Media Manzana from Axon. So there are several examples of Peruvian startups raising cross borders. And despite Eddie's comment, there have been some exits. Some people might consider them they're not successful, others might think differently, but there has been some of them. For example, Red Bus from India bought Busportal, which is also a search engine for buses. Fandango, the American ticketing service, bought Cine Papaya. That was probably the most mediatized exit in Peru. And behind all these startups, there is an ecosystem, every day more dynamic ecosystem that is supporting them first to be created and also to help them grow. Within this ecosystem, there are first a lot of universities. A law was passed in 2013, I imagine, that requested all universities to have their own incubator. So a lot of the universities, and this again is non-exclusive, have now their incubators. For example, Start UPC, Emprende UP, BioIncuba focuses on biotech companies. Some have started an accelerator. UTEC Ventures was probably the first one. Emprende UP has a fintech accelerator. Usil Venture, who is here, I think they're currently designing their acceleration program as well. There are some different organizations like NGOs, and Nest supports social entrepreneurs. There are corporates, of course. WIDA was one of the first in the market. Also now, today, Grupo Romero has its incubator called Incubadora PQS. And most of these organizations are in Lima still, but progressively we're seeing more and more opening in the regions. Caman is in Arequipa, for example. Habudep is in Piura. And again, we're seeing every time more organization outside Lima. There is seed investment happening through angels, either organized through formal business angel networks or informal groups. And also like individual angels investing on their own directly to startups. There are new VCs on the way, and actually I shouldn't say, I mean, some of them have been there for more than just a couple years. Alta Ventures had a Kickstart program. WIDA is actually migrating from an accelerator to a micro VC fund, and Jaime will tell us a little bit more later on. Salcantay, Independiente Safi, and Capia are new VC funds that are developing their operations currently. And Angel Ventures launched its micro VC fund last year. There's even, and that's for an early stage ecosystem, it is quite impressive. There's the Association of Seed and Venture Capital. It's called PECAP. It was launched last year. These are its founding members, and among several objectives that PECAP has, one of them is to recollect and consolidate data on investments in Peru, investments in startups. They actually publish a quarterly report that is available on the website, and I invite you to check the website, pecap.pe. And it has a lot of information not only on investments, but also on the ecosystem in general. And actually, most of the information in this presentation is from the PECAP data. And also, PECAP is looking to share best practices. There's been actually a lot of mistakes happening in the ecosystem in terms of investment in startups. And it's seeking to share best practices to improve in angel investment in general in Peru. And for example, recently they've worked on legal documents, and they've shared basic legal documents like term sheets that are also available on the website for entrepreneurs, anyone in the ecosystem that want to use them as basis when they start raising capital. There are also co-working spaces. Comunal is a Peruvian co-working space, a pretty big one. It already has 10 locations in Lima, and it's growing fast. WeWork recently entered the market. Selina, which is a co-living, an Israeli co-living, recently also entered the market. They're actually a hotel chain that is targeting millennials that are working remotely, and they want to offer them added value on connecting them with the ecosystem. There are also events, big events. The Peru Venture Capital Conference is the major event happening in the ecosystem. The third edition happened 2 weeks ago. 800 participants, very good speakers, and other events like the Startup Week and other events also organized by incubators and accelerators. And of course, this picture wouldn't be completed without the support of the government. There's a lot of financial support from the government since 2013 through Innovate Peru and Startup Peru. They finance startups at various levels, at various startup levels. They've given out grants to incubators, accelerators, business angel networks, venture funds. And without them, or put it another way, they've really jump-started the ecosystem and really helped that everything gets going thanks to this financial support. And another thing that is interesting about this early stage ecosystem is that data is being recollected already, and we can, thanks to data, for example, recollected by Startup Peru, we can see the evolution of the ecosystem even in a short period of time since, for example, 2014. So this graph shows that in 2014, the startups that applied to Startup Peru were from 5 different regions, and then the last cohort in 2018, they were from 18 regions. So that's very good news, and it shows that now, the access to funding goes, in most of the regions, and startups are being funded in most of the regions. The data from Startup Peru also is interesting. It shows the profile of the Peruvian entrepreneur. Average age is 27. 84% are male. That gives us a lot of work to do on gender balance there. 93% have university degree. And also 93% have a co-founding team. That's also good news. It means they're not just single entrepreneurs, but do have a team. And 48% are serial entrepreneurs, which is also quite a good news. It means that they have more chances to have success. There's also information on the portfolio of Startup Peru. In 2017, the consolidated portfolio annual sale was of 60 million soles, which is about $20 million. There's also data from PECAP, as I was mentioning. This slide shows, for example, that in 2017, the startups in Peru raised $7.2 million from private investment. In 2018, we're at 5.8, so it's very likely that we'll overpass 7.2. And what's interesting as well is to show in yellow, it's the cross-border investment that is diminishing. And it means that it's now easier for entrepreneurs in Peru to raise locally, which is good. Most of the time, they have to go abroad to raise once they start raising around $500,000. The average round is about $350,000. Valuation pre-money $2 million, and the equity that is given out is 15%. So if we look at overall the Peruvian economy, it's actually a high growth economy, one of the fastest growing in Latin America, with some sectors that are very promising for startups. Mining, tourism, and gastronomy are growing fast. Biodiversity and agriculture also a great opportunity for startups. So what's missing? I know Eddie has shown a picture of the ecosystem that it wasn't so hopeful, and the numbers that I've shown might look sometimes not so high if you compare them to the American ecosystem. But for Peru, who started 5 years ago, it's a huge improvement. But we're still looking to have our own unicorn. So a company that is valued at over $1 billion. And actually, more than a unicorn, I think would prefer to have several gazelles. Gazelles are a company they're a high growth company that have their revenues increase over 20% in the past 4 years. And these are the ones that would really, really add a lot of value to the economy and would create jobs. So what's still missing, or what the areas that still need to be worked on, are experience and talent, and this again relates to the presentation of Eddie. So the Peruvian ecosystem has gone through a program at MIT called MIT REAP. It's a program that accelerates regional ecosystems. A group of organizations from the Peruvian economy, the Peruvian ecosystem, came to MIT. It was a 2-year program, and out of their final report, the areas they identified that still needs to be improved are innovation culture, innovation infrastructure and human capital, and entrepreneurial skills. So, I don't know what happened with this slide, but so I work for a program that supports the development of the ecosystem. We work with organizations that supports entrepreneurs. So we work with these incubators, accelerators, and business angel network. And to do so, we identify their needs, and together with them, of course, and we identify and we look for experts, international experts, to bring to Peru and to help work with our partners. But usually when they come to Peru, and this slide was showing, logos of accelerators and other service providers that we've brought to Peru, they come just for 1 week because they run their own accelerator back at home. And we've come to realize that when they come for such short period of time, it's not enough. And especially when it relates to innovation culture, for example, or things that takes longer to transfer. So we've built this Entrepreneur in Residence initiative where we seek for entrepreneurs, investors, CTOs like Eddie, accelerator managers, and pretty much any startup staff with very interesting experience to come for between 1 and 3 months and work with one of our incubators, accelerators, or business angel network, but also to work with the ecosystem in general and also with startup, of course. And we bring them to Peru, but this program is also in the Balkans, in Albania, Macedonia, Bosnia, and Serbia, and Vietnam. So that's also a potential destination for the Entrepreneur in Residence. And the deal is that their contribution is their time. It's a volunteer experience. It's a 50% time dedication. And we take care of the trip and accommodation. So why would you do it? Well, to give back to your native Peru. This is a way of giving back or it's a different way to give back. It's a way of making contacts with Peruvian entrepreneurs, with the ecosystem in general. And it's a way of testing. Maybe if you're considering going back to Peru, but you're not yet sure if you're ready to make the big move, this is a way of coming and testing for a few months. It's also a way of taking the time to travel and get to know Peru better. And it's also a way of starting to being part of this entrepreneur in residence mafia that Eddie was mentioning. These are the 6 entrepreneur in residence that have come to Peru so far, but there are many more that have gone to the other countries of our program. There are 2 more coming up, someone from Groupon and a lady specialized in social entrepreneurship. So it's ongoing. And basically, if you think your profile fits, you should apply. I'll share the website at the end of this presentation. Or share with your contacts. They don't have to be Peruvian. If they speak Spanish, it's better. And just keep us in mind in the future whenever you meet entrepreneurs who are in between, ventures, or people who have some time to give back. Keep us in mind to share the experience with them. And if you don't have the time to come to Peru for such period of time, but you still want to be connected with the ecosystem, we're looking for remote mentors to one of our partners, for example. You could give talks whenever you come and visit Peru, participate in conferences, and basically we're looking for, you could be the tío or tía peruana that you wish you had when you moved to the States to help guide you. So, are you ready to come and help the ecosystem? Thank you. And this is the website.
Okay, thanks a lot, Charlotte. I think we have time for one question or a couple of questions. So, does anyone have any question? Okay. I actually have a question. It seems very interesting. It's actually the first time I'm learning about this. Is there any specific amount of months that you should stay in Peru? I don't know if it's always the same or you could just, is that variable?
The ideal time is at least 1 month because, as I was saying, we bring people already for a short period of time, but we seek people to stay longer to be on with the day-to-day of our partners. So I would say 1 month is the minimum. 3 months is usually a good time, but we always try to adapt, obviously, to the availability of our entrepreneur in residence.
So it sounds very interesting, and my question is mostly like, what does the residency? I mean, what do you do every day? Because I think if you go and help with everything, it sounds good, but probably for somebody that will like to go, I mean, probably it's better to know like if my skills are like can be applied, right? Like if the ecosystem can leverage what you can provide, right? So is there something like that, or is it more in general?
Oh, it's a very good question. Depending on the profile of the entrepreneur in residence, sometimes there is a perfect fit with one of our partners, and someone who needs support in technology, and you have a tech profile, and we also have you talk to the partner beforehand to make sure there's a good fit. But sometimes there are some generalists that have very interesting profile, but we don't have a immediate match. And we've brought some of them as well without defining exactly what they would work on, but have them meet with our partners the first week they're in Peru, and then they, together with the different partners, identify where to work on. So it really depends on the profile of the entrepreneur. I mean, entrepreneur or investor or whoever's coming to help.
Okay, thank you so much again, Charlotte.